Hi, I'm Kelly from Kelly Jones Jewellery. Today I'm going to be showing you this crazy curly moon pendant, how to make it. I'll put a list in the description of everything you'll need, along with all the usual links. We've got Facebook, Instagram, Etsy. Etsy is where I sell all my written tutorials if anybody's interested. To make this pendant you'll need 0.8mm wire, that's 20 gauge, and I've cut 4 lengths at 10 inches, that's 25.5 centimetres. You'll need weaving wire, I'm using 0.315mm, that's 28 gauge. You'll need about 200 centimetres. I've wound mine onto a bobbin. If you don't have a bobbin, don't worry, this stops the wire flailing about while you're working. You can just cut lengths as you go. These are Bobeeze bobbins by Beadsmith. I'll write down in the description below the size and that I use. And you'll need a crescent moon for this one. Mine is 40mm. If it was a complete circle, then it would be 40mm across as well. But the width of that part there is 18mm. If yours is bigger or smaller, then you could add 3 or 4 inches or take off from the wires. So that rough shape, I know they all come in different shapes and sizes, but mine is roughly 40mm and it's quite a wide one, so I've got a lot of room to play for adding shapes and that to the stone. And it's all entirely up to you as well what you do with the design. You could start it off as I do it to secure the stone, and then you could carry on and add your own curls and do your own thing. Tools, I've got pliers, round nose pliers, wire cutters, nylon pliers. If you don't have nylon pliers, don't worry. I just like having these handy for flattening weaves and straightening wires. So you don't necessarily need those because you can just use your fingers. All of my tools are Tronex, and I'll put a list in the description below of everything I'm using if you want to go and have a look at those. So take your 4 wires and we're going to start weaving 3.5 inches from the beginning of the wires, so that's that'll be 8.5 centimetres. So take your weaving wire. We're going to start with 3 wraps around the bottom wire. And then we'll go over the second wire, up between those 2 wires, over the third wire, so we've wrapped around those middle 2 wires, and then we'll come up between those 2, over the top wire, so we've wrapped once around the top 2 wires, and then we'll go up between the first and second wire, over the third, so we've gone around the middle 2, then we come under the bottom wire, over the second, so we're wrapping around the bottom 2. So come up between the bottom 2, and we'll repeat that. So we go around the middle 2, around the top 2, around the middle 2, and around the bottom 2. Keep pressing your weave together as you go, and that's our repeat. So I've done about 1.5 centimetres of that weave, and my weave did slide along as I was working, so this was supposed to be, was it 3.5 inches? So I've had to shuffle that back down a bit, just slides along the wire. Keep compressing your weave together as well as you go, and when you've done the same amount as me, finish your weave off with just a few wraps around one of the wires. And then pull your wire nice and tight on both ends and cut your weaving wire at both ends. going to flatten down any sharp bits. And I'm just going to flatten my weave a little. Make sure it's all nicely compressed to keep it nice and tidy. So now we're just going to put a slight curve into our weave. Just a gentle curve, a gentle bend. And then that's going to sit across the back of the pendant there. You've probably seen other moons that I do start them off like this generally, but I do finish them all off differently. So get yourself a nice little curve in your weave. About that big to your stone, so if your stone is bigger or smaller, you just got to do it like a middle third kind of amount. And then we'll take the wires, and we need 2 going one way and 2 going the other. We need to do that at both ends. So if you position that now against the back of your stone, and then hold that firmly in place, and we're going to bend the wires around the sides of the stone and pull them quite firmly so they all go around. So if you look at the front, you've just got all your wires coming around the sides of the stone there. So the longer wires are the top, and I'm just going to cross those over. Sort of allows me to get a little bit closer to the camera and just keeps them out the way for now. Hold the stone in a little bit. So the shorter wires are the bottom. Those are the ones I'm going to be looking at first. So I'm going to take, so my stone's the right way up now. These are the longer ones and these are the shorter ones. So I'm going to take this very bottom wire and pulling it over the stone, and then I'm going to curve it to the right. And I'm going to take the top wires, I'm going to pull them towards the wires. I'm going to curve them the other way. So we've got this crazy thing going on. But all the wires meet there all the same, because that's where I'm going to do a join now with my weaving wire. So working across all 4 wires, I'm going to take my weaving wire, I'm going to wrap around this bottom wire. I've still got it this way up, so I've got my shorter wires at the bottom. And I'm just going to wrap around the bottom wire. I'm wrapping around 3 times just to attach my weaving wire. I'm actually still attached to the bobbin, so I'm going to have to cut that free. I just want a short length of wire really, just a little bit. So my cutter's gone. So I'm just simply going to go around all of the wires just to hold them together there. So I've gone around all of the wires. I'm trying to remember to speak up because I know I keep going quiet. I've gone around all of the wires 3 times. And now I'll go just around that bottom wire again 3 times. Pushing it together, pulling the ends tight, and then cut them off both ends. Flatten off any sharp bits. And that's what we've got so far. So these 2 wires here, I'm going to exaggerate the bend a bit more. I'm going to have this wire coming up. And this wire going down and around the back. So it's made a big scoop. And I'm going to add a little bit of weaving wire. If I can find it. To those 2 wires, just to hold them together there. I'm going to pull this wire back around a little bit. So I'm going to add 3 wraps around this wire. And then I'm going to go over the top wire and around it again. And then I'm going to come over the bottom wire and around it again. I'm going to go over and around the top wire. And I'll go around it again. And I'm just going to keep repeating that, so you go over and around the opposite wire. I'm going to do that a few more times. So I've carried on that weave a little, and then I've added coils to that top wire. I'm going to cut that bottom little tail end. And this one, I'm going to cut this, but I'm going to leave a little bit still attached, so I can join that to something in a bit. So this is what I have so far. So this bottom wire here has to go around to the back. We'll do a bit of work on the top wires to secure that more in place, and then we'll move back to finishing off that bottom part. So these top 2 wires are going to go up, and these bottom 2 wires are going to go down. I'm going to push them up at the base. And then I'm going to curve them to go down. So we've got 2 going up and 2 going down. and we want them to meet in the middle, and we're going to do the same join that we did for the bottom there. So take a piece of weaving wire, and we're going to join two of them go in the same way. I'm going to join to this bottom wire. Whoops, try to escape then. So we go around the bottom wire 3 times, that's just to attach it. And I'm going to be working the other way, so now it's the top wire. So I'm going to do it upside down. And I'm going to have to cut a bit of that wire off. This is what you get for making it up as you go along. I like to have a rough design of what I'm going to do and then just go for it and see what happens. So we're going to have it this way. So that's now going to be on our top wire. So it still matches the other side. We're just working upside down for a bit. So we need to wrap around the entire thing. This is going to be fiddly. We're going to keep that one out the way and that one out the way. Try and not knock the lights off. So we're going to go around 3 times. Then we're going to come up between the two so we can finish with 3 wraps around that top wire. Push it together. And we're going to cut that off at both ends. Flatten off any sharp bits. So now this piece of wire here that's still got a bit of length on it, we're going to attach this wire to those 2 top wires. So I'm going to go underneath them and I'll go around all of them 3 times so it's in keep with all the other wraps. So I've turned it around completely just so it's easier to handle. And I'll go 3 times around all of the wires. And then I'm going to finish with, so I need to be on that side. Twisted it now. Come on. Proper twisting it now. So I would just want just 3 wraps around that wire and then I'm done. See if I can get it around before that twist. That's it. So it just attaches it all together really. Give that wire a pull. and the sharp bits. So now these two wires that are going this way, I want the outer one to go down and to the back, and this one is going to curl that way. This one is going to curl this way. And then out of these two at the bottom here, the bottom one is going to go around the bottom of the stone, and the top one is going to curl that way. So we need to strap those two together now. Let's cut some wires so we can see what we're doing. So this one is going to curl this way, so we can chop him off about there. This one is going to go this way. Cut that off about, I'm going to cut them long so I can take them shorter if I want to. That one's going to go to the back, and that one's going to curl around. Oh, and these two here, the top one is going to curl around, and this other one is going to go to the back, so we can chop that one off as well. So I've still got a long wire at the top and a short wire at the bottom, and I'm working on these two bottom wires now. I'm going to bend that one to the back out of the way for now. So I'm going to wrap around this bottom wire to attach my weaving wire. Slide that up there. And we're going to do here the same weave as we did here, so it's all in keep. We're doing all the same little ties and little weaves. So I need to push it down to where the wires meet really. So we go over the opposite wire and around it again, and then over the bottom opposite wire and around again. So this wire needs to come down because that's going to go down and to the back, and then this wire is going to have a little curl on it. So keep an eye on your wire shaping. Try and keep your weave nice and tidy. Push it together as you go. And please mention me, a Kelly Jones Design, when you're sharing your work online. So I've done a few more repeats of that weave, and you need to finish on your wire that's going to be a curl. So this is my curl wire, this is a wire that's going to the back. So you need to finish on your curl wire. Just a few wraps like that. We're going to cut this tail end from the beginning. And then this wire I'm going to cut, I'm going to leave a little bit attached so I can finish off that curl to something else. And then this wire goes down and to the back. So this wire now is going to go around that tip again. So this bit of weaving wire we've left attached, we can now attach to that to secure that curl there. I'm going to have to post it through. And we'll do the same as we've been doing throughout. We'll go 3 wraps around both wires. That's a bit tight. And then finish with 3 wraps around your curl wire. And we'll cut that weaving wire now. And this wire just goes around to the back. And we'll deal with him in a minute. So this curl wire, this can be cut nice and short now. So we've got all these curls we're going to do in a minute, and now we've got this top wire. So we've got a long wire at the back. We've got this wire, which comes from the middle. Now we can finish that off by just wrapping straight around. You can either wrap straight around this centre section, or you can wrap it around into another curl, and we'll tie it on with a little bit of weaving wire. If you're sick to death of curls by this time, you can just wrap around that middle section. I do like finishing everything off with the curls. So I've gone 3 times around that wire. I'm just going to wrap around that middle section, or around one of the wires if I can, and then 3 times around the single wire. And then I'm going to cut off both those tail ends, flatten down any sharp bits. That's going to be a little curl. And when you do the curls, it pulls all the wires tight and pulls it all in. This one at the point at the bottom, again, you can just wrap onto this wire, or you can finish it off as a little curl if you want to. Attach it the same, 3 wraps around this wire, 3 wraps around both wires, and then 3 wraps around that wire. So I've done that one. I'm just going to clip the wire at both ends. Flatten down any extra sharp bits. That can also be cut off too, because that's going to be a little curl. A very curly one this week. I've recently finished a written tutorial on bails. A bail is the top little woven bit on a pendant where you put your cord through. And it can be quite a challenge sometimes, it is, to complete the bail. So I've done a written tutorial all about bails, and I've done multiple different designs, from simple basic designs to the slightly more complex ones. And I've used this little basic design throughout. I've put on there how you do the wrap around the stone too. There's one in there for capturing the little stone on the top there. And there's this multi-layered one as well. Whoops! Multi-layered one as well. And so it's all in there, a written tutorial all about bails, if anybody fancies a challenge. So we've got 2 remaining wires now sticking out towards the top. This wire is going to go straight up. This one is going to come over and down, and then it's going to curl up. I can't hold it. The sharp spiky bits on the other side are getting me. I need to curl some wires. So now we've got the 2 wires together going up. the back there, because we just need to make a little bail just to attach a jump ring to. And I forgot to mention we're going to need a jump ring, as I usually do. So I'll add that at the beginning of the video. Now we're going to weave across these 2 wires, and we'll start with... which one's the bottom one? The shorter one. We'll start with 3 wraps around the bottom wire. Slide that down to just before where the wires meet there. And we're going to go 3 wraps around both wires. I don't want them to come too close. And then 3 wraps around the bottom wire. So that's how I repeat. 3 wraps around the bottom wire, and then 3 wraps around the both wires. Oops. So I've done 12 repeats of that weave. I might need a little bit more. It depends how big you want this loop to be, really. I'm going to bend that around to make a nice loop to put the jump ring through. So we just need to finish off these 2 wires, and you can add more curls if you want to. I'm just going to finish these off. Make sure you've got 3 wraps at the end of your weave to finish it off nicely. And I'm just going to wrap these 2 wires around this wire here. So I'll go around. I'm holding the loop that we've just made with the weave so I don't misshape it. So I don't misshape it too much, and I'm wrapping those wires around. I can feel the loop moving. Wrapping those wires around there. And then I'll just gently squeeze them around so I'm not pulling them, because if you pull them around you're going to misshape your loop. And your loop needs to be at the angle, so when you look at the front, the loop's at a nice angle like that. So we're going to press these wires nice and tight and securely around there. I'm going to cut them. I'll go around a bit further actually. And just finish them around there. So we've got a nice little loop for our jump ring. I'm going to have to go and find a jump ring. Or we can curl some of these curls. Start on the back. So that gives us a bit of practice before we start jumping into all those curls that are going to be on display. So all we're doing is grab the tip of the wire with your round nose pliers and twist it around until it meets and then twist the body of it around. So you've got a nice closed ring. You don't want any open rings really, because then they'll start snagging on everything. A nice closed ring. And now I'm going to curl all these. Now I only intended for some of these to be quite small, You can always skip this bit if you already know how to do curls. This one's going to be quite small. Might cut a bit off that one. There's no rules on doing your curls. You can have them as big or small as you like. Just remember that the bigger they are, the more likely they are to catch on something. After I've done them, I like to press them down against the stone. I might do a slightly bigger curl here. And if you work it slowly and watch it taking shape, as soon as you've got it closed, you can then just pull the curl around to wherever you want it to be, really. And there is no trick to not getting marks on your wires. I still mark my wires sometimes. How big should we have this one? I think I'll keep it that length. I'll just pull that around like that. I just need a jump ring now. So I'll just run and oxidise that now. So there we have it. I've oxidised it, and I hope you found this tutorial easy to follow. I'll put links in the description below of how I oxidise my pieces, because I did a video a while ago and then I did a short more recently, so I'll put a link to those in the description. Please mention me, Kelly Jones Design, when you're making your work, you're making work from my tutorials. I do appreciate everybody who does, sending everyone over here to watch all the tutorials. Thanks everybody, and please subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.